Here's what truck manufacturers will never tell you when they're pitching their flagship products. What if I told you that a single truck program can lose $500 million in 6 months and trigger complete corporate collapse? That's not market volatility. 500 million vaporized because executives thought billion-dollar gambles on unproven technology were smarter than building what customers actually wanted. Picture yourself as a shareholder watching your company's stock implode because management bet everything on a truck nobody asked for. In this video, I'm revealing the 13 trucks and SUVs that didn't just fail, they bankrupted their parent companies. And trust me, number one will shock you. It's a debt load so massive that it makes the 2009 bailout look like pocket change. Stay until the end, because this isn't just business history. It's proof that even the most profitable vehicle segment can become a corporate death sentence when arrogance meets incompetence. Number 13, the Cybertruck's financial gamble. The Tesla Cybertruck represents a polarizing, high-cost gamble on design and manufacturing that carries significant financial risk. The angular stainless steel design demands entirely new tooling and production techniques that cost billions to develop. This vast research and development investment can only be justified through extremely high production volumes to spread the cost across enough units. However, months after its long-awaited launch, the Cybertruck has faced substantial market skepticism. The price ballooned from a promised $39,000 to 6 figures for certain configurations, leading to accusations of bait-and-switch tactics. A user poll shortly after launch indicated that 61% of respondents considered the Cybertruck a complete flop. The manufacturing challenges extend beyond just the stainless steel body. The entire production process required Tesla to develop new stamping techniques, new welding methods, and new assembly procedures that don't exist anywhere else in the automotive industry. Every single aspect of the Cybertruck's construction is a departure from conventional truck building, which means every single aspect carries financial risk. When you're building a vehicle using processes that have never been proven at scale, you're essentially betting the company's future on your ability to solve problems nobody else has encountered. If the vehicle fails to penetrate the highly competitive US truck market at volume, the significant capital investment tied up in its unique manufacturing process could become a major non-performing asset. While Tesla remains financially solvent, the Cybertruck proves that even well-funded companies can make product bets so expensive that failure severely impairs growth and threatens future viability. Number 12, the Nissan Titan's slow death. The Nissan Titan struggled for years to compete with domestic rivals in the full-size truck segment, a market absolutely dominated by the Ford F-150, Chevrolet Silverado, and Ram pickups. The Titan never achieved meaningful market share despite multiple redesigns and aggressive incentives. This dwindling model became a persistent drain on resources as Nissan poured money into updates and marketing that failed to move the needle. The problem wasn't necessarily that the Titan was a bad truck. Reviews were generally positive, and owners who actually bought them were often satisfied. The issue was that nobody was buying them in the first place. The financial pressure of maintaining a truck that couldn't compete forced difficult decisions about resource allocation. Every dollar spent on the Titan was a dollar that couldn't be invested in Nissan's more competitive products. The dedicated assembly capacity, the specialized tooling, the marketing budget, the dealer training programs, all of it represented fixed costs that had to be spread across increasingly tiny sales volumes. The math simply didn't work. The Titan's failure mirrors the liquidation decisions General Motors made in 2009 for low-volume, unprofitable models. When a vehicle can't generate enough sales to justify its dedicated production capacity, tooling costs, and marketing budget, it becomes a liability that drains capital away from successful products. The Titan represents the slow-motion failure, where death comes not from scandal, but from persistent irrelevance in a market that demands scale. Number 11, the Toyota Tundra's engine crisis. Even historically quality-focused brands aren't immune to catastrophic product failures. The current generation Toyota Tundra is experiencing something unprecedented for the brand. severe reliability concerns that are destroying its reputation and creating massive financial pressure. The truck is seeing inventory periods of 220 to 250 days on dealer lots, an alarming indicator of market rejection. For context, healthy inventory turnover in the truck market is typically 60 to 90 days. When a vehicle sits for over 6 months, it means buyers are actively avoiding it. The core problem involves main crankshaft bearing issues leading to complete engine failures in vehicles that should represent Toyota's legendary durability. This isn't a minor inconvenience. These are catastrophic failures requiring complete engine replacements under warranty. Owners are reporting sudden loss of power, metal shavings in the oil, and engines seizing without warning. This unexpected quality problem requires costly warranty service that Toyota must absorb. While dealers are forced to offer discounts of $10,000 to $12,000 off MSRP plus incentivized interest rates just to move 2024 models. These are described as uncharted territory discounts for Toyota, a brand that historically never needed to discount because demand exceeded supply. The combination of quality issues destroying brand trust and unprecedented discounting vaporizing profit margins creates a financial crisis that threatens one of Toyota's core North American products. When a Toyota truck requires massive discounts to sell, something has gone catastrophically wrong. The Tundra crisis demonstrates that even brands with bulletproof reputations can face existential product threats when quality control fails on flagship models. Number 10. Ram's inventory apocalypse. Stellantis is facing what industry observers are calling a financial crisis due to massive inventory backlog of Ram trucks. The Ram 1500, 2500, and 3500 models are seeing supply periods exceeding 460 days on dealer lots, a condition described as insane by industry analysts. To put that in perspective, that's over 15 months of unsold inventory sitting on lots, depreciating in value, accumulating floor plan interest charges, and taking up space that could be used for vehicles that actually sell. This isn't a temporary blip. It represents fundamental market rejection of the product at current pricing. The U.S. truck market is collapsing due to skyrocketing MSRPs and high interest rates, and Ram is experiencing the worst of it. The average transaction price for a new Ram 1500 has climbed to levels that price out traditional truck buyers. When you combine $50,000 starting prices with 7% interest rates, monthly payments become unaffordable for the core customer base. Dealers are desperately trying to move stock through unprecedented discounting, which drains profit margins to near zero. Some dealers are offering $10,000 to $15,000 off MSRP just to get these trucks moving, and even that isn't enough in many cases. For Stellantis, this represents massive lost revenue on what should be the company's highest margin products. Ram trucks are supposed to fund the entire company's operations, including the money-losing passenger car divisions. The financial pressure is so severe that it's forcing broader corporate restructuring and layoffs across Stellantis operations. When your flagship truck sits unsold for over a year, you're not just facing a sales problem. You're facing an existential crisis where the product designed to fund the entire company becomes the anchor pulling it underwater. Number 9. The Lincoln Blackwood's 15-month disaster. The Lincoln Blackwood, produced for only 15 months during the 2002 model year, stands as a premier example of how rapid, total market rejection can completely vaporize research and development investment. Lincoln, riding high on the success of its Navigator SUV, attempted to capture the burgeoning luxury market with a premium pickup. The fundamental flaw was conceptual. Instead of a functional bed, the Blackwood featured a stainless steel, carpeted powered trunk that made the vehicle completely useless for any hauling or work. The primary purpose of a truck. This design choice meant it couldn't justify its astronomical price point. The Blackwood's spectacular failure was immediate, forcing Lincoln to scrap the product quickly and absorb the full cost of its unique design, tooling, and marketing. The failure taught Cadillac a valuable lesson, allowing the Escalade EXT to succeed by simply applying luxury trim to an already profitable existing platform. The Blackwood proves that misunderstanding your market so completely can turn millions in investment into instant waste. Number 8, the Saturn Outlook's failed sale. The Saturn Outlook, a Lambda platform crossover produced from 2007 to 2010, was intrinsically linked to the long-term unprofitability of the entire Saturn brand. GM executives later conceded that Saturn never made money, ever, throughout its entire existence. The Outlook represented Saturn's late-stage push into the profitable large crossover market segment, but it was too little, too late. The brand's fate was sealed in 2009 during GM's bankruptcy when a crucial sale to the Penske Automotive Group collapsed. GM had agreed to continue building the Outlook and other models for Penske until 2012. But the deal fell apart when Penske couldn't secure a replacement vehicle deal with the Renault Group. This failure meant the brand couldn't be successfully sold as a going concern. GM was forced to absorb the full cost of liquidating the brand, including winding down Outlook production. Saturn was declared defunct on October 31, 2010. The Outlook represents how even a decent product becomes a financial liability when the parent brand structure is fundamentally unprofitable. Number 7, the Pontiac Torrent's redundancy problem. The Pontiac Torrent, a mid-size crossover produced from 2006 to 2009, became a casualty of GM's excessive brand overlap during the 2009 bankruptcy. The Torrent was essentially a slightly restyled Chevrolet Equinox, failing to offer any unique selling proposition in a crowded market segment. The financial analysis that determined which GM brands would survive revealed the fatal flaw. Pontiac lacked unique, high-margin sales and profitable global presence. While other rebadged divisions like GMC trucks were retained because they generated significant profit despite sharing platforms, Pontiac's models, including the Torrent, couldn't justify the cost of maintaining the entire brand infrastructure. Sales were suffering horribly, and the government-mandated restructuring forced GM to shed redundant, unprofitable assets. The decision to shutter Pontiac meant the Torrent and all other Pontiac products were discontinued, representing complete loss on their development investment. The Torrent proves that badge engineering without differentiation is just expensive duplication that destroys value instead of creating it. Number 6, the Saab 97X's identity crisis. The Saab 97X exemplifies the disastrous consequences of GM's badge engineering strategy, where diluting core brand identity fails to achieve crucial economies of scale. Introduced in 2005, the 97X was Saab's first SUV, created hastily to meet surging U.S. demand. The vehicle was based on GM's aging GMT 360 platform, shared with the Chevrolet Trailblazer and GMC Envoy. Critics immediately noted that the body-on-frame truck architecture was completely unsuitable for Saab, which needed to compete against modern, car-based luxury rivals like the Volvo XC90. Although designers added Saab-specific interior treatments, the core product failed to resonate with buyers who expected Swedish sophistication, not rebadged American truck bones. Sales volumes were negligible, sometimes described as only a few hundred copies annually. This costly mistake was part of years of limited resources and strange management choices that characterized GM's destructive stewardship of Saab. The failure of the 97X was a contributing factor to the non-viability of the entire Saab brand, which GM liquidated during bankruptcy, ultimately leading to Saab's complete demise in 2011 after a brief sale to Spyker. The 97X proves that forcing a truck platform onto a brand known for quirky European sedans is financial suicide. If you're seeing the pattern here, make sure you're subscribed because we're about to get into the trucks that didn't just lose money, they triggered complete corporate collapse. Number 5, the Hummer brand's free fall. Hummer became the definitive financial and symbolic emblem of GM's excess leading into bankruptcy. Originating as a civilian version of the military Humvee, the brand was purchased by GM in 1999 with high hopes for sustained luxury SUV profits. The H2 and H3 models were designed for high-margin sales based on their formidable presence and cultural cachet, fueled by celebrity endorsements. The financial collapse was breathtakingly swift. After peaking in 2006 with 71,524 U.S. sales, demand plummeted as the financial crisis and rising fuel costs took hold. Annual U.S. sales dropped from 55,986 in 2007 to 27,485 in 2008, before collapsing to just 9,046 in the bankruptcy year of 2009. Hummer was explicitly named an unprofitable brand slated for liquidation, part of the bad assets left with the old company during the Chapter 11 process. The high cost of operating and manufacturing these massive, fuel-inefficient vehicles couldn't be covered by dwindling sales volume. GM was unable to secure a viable buyer, and the brand was officially wound down by 2010. The Hummer represents how quickly market conditions can turn a profit center into a liability that requires liquidation to save the parent company. Number 4, the Jeep Cherokee/Renegade transmission nightmare. Post-bailout Chrysler, operating as Fiat Chrysler automobiles, faced a major financial drain tied to a severe component defect in high-volume Jeep SUVs, the 9-speed ZF 9HP automatic transmission. This defect affected the Jeep Cherokee, Jeep Renegade, and Jeep Compass, among others, from 2014 onward. The transmission created major safety hazards, including delayed acceleration and sudden loss of power, harsh shifts, shaking, shuddering, and vehicles unexpectedly shifting into neutral while driving. The manufacturer's attempts to fix issues through software updates frequently made the problems worse, creating escalating customer rage and warranty costs. FCA's CEO, Sergio Marchionne, admitted the company had to perform an inordinate amount of intervention on that transmission, surely beyond what anyone had forecast. This financial debt tied to poor component reliability resulted in a multi-model class action settlement, guaranteeing consumer compensation and requiring substantial unforecasted financial reserves. This ongoing liability represents a persistent drain on the profitability of FCA's core Jeep brand. The transmission crisis proves that a single flawed component across multiple high-volume models can create liability exposure that threatens the financial foundation of an entire automotive group. Number 3, the Ford Explorer's 238 deaths. The first-generation Ford Explorer was central to one of the most destructive corporate liability crises in U.S. history, the Firestone tire controversy. The crisis stemmed from a tragic combination of two defects: the Explorer's design, which contributed to instability, and unusually high failure rates of specific Firestone A, TX, A, TX2, and Wilderness AT tires. The issue was tread separation at high speeds, often leading to loss of control and fatal rollovers. The controversy resulted in the deaths of 238 people and injuries to approximately 500 others in the United States alone. The financial damage was cataclysmic. While Ford managed to survive, the controversy triggered the end of the nearly century-old relationship between Ford and Firestone. More severely, the revelation halved the market value of Firestone's parent company, Bridgestone, leading to the closure of the Decatur, Illinois factory responsible for the tires. The multi-billion-dollar cost of litigation and recalls was an existential burden that directly led to the enactment of the Tread Act in October 2000, fundamentally changing U.S. auto safety standards. The Explorer crisis proves that quality failures in high-volume products can generate liability so massive that it destroys supplier relationships and nearly bankrupts even the largest manufacturers. Number 2, the Jeep Cherokee XJ that killed AMC. The Jeep Cherokee XJ, launched in 1984, presents a paradox. It was a revolutionary vehicle that helped break its parent company, American Motors Corporation. AMC was already in precarious financial position when it formed an alliance with Renault in the late 1970s, hoping for a financial influx. The XJ was the high-stakes product of this partnership, intended to conquer the compact four-wheel drive market. The technical ambition was immense. It successfully implemented pioneering unibody architecture, making it 1,500 pounds lighter than its predecessor while maintaining interior space, resulting in better fuel economy and handling. The development required risky, cutting-edge investment, including the use of CAD technologies. However, AMC was already struggling with failed attempts to push the Jeep brand upmarket. The level of capital investment required for this sophisticated research and development proved unsustainable. The cost of the XJ's development and the concurrent need for general modernization accelerated AMC's demise because the company lacked the deep pockets necessary to weather any market turbulence after making such a monumental investment. The high capital expenditure on the XJ was the final financial blow that necessitated the acquisition of AMC and its valuable Jeep brand by Chrysler in 1987. The Cherokee XJ proves that creating a revolutionary product means nothing if the development costs push you into insolvency before you can profit from success. Number 1. GM's $130 billion EV disaster. General Motors leadership made a catastrophic strategic decision to skip hybrids and go all in on electric vehicles using the proprietary Ultium platform for its next generation of trucks and SUVs. This involved pouring billions into new factories, battery plants, and completely redesigned vehicle architectures. The strategy seemed bold and visionary on paper. Position GM as the leader in electric trucks and dominate the future market before competitors could catch up. In reality, it became one of the most expensive corporate failures in automotive history. The result is a financial crisis of staggering proportions. GM has accumulated $130 billion in debt, while simultaneously failing to meet EV production and sales goals due to platform stumbles and production bottlenecks. The Ultium platform, which was supposed to be the flexible foundation for dozens of electric models, turned out to have fundamental issues that required costly redesigns and delays. Battery production couldn't scale as quickly as promised. Software integration problems plagued early vehicles. Customer demand didn't materialize at projected levels because the vehicles were too expensive and charging infrastructure remained inadequate. This debt burden is defined as an EV disaster resulting from misplaced capital and disastrous market timing. While GM was betting everything on pure electric trucks, hybrids quietly exploded in popularity as the practical bridge technology consumers actually wanted. Toyota, which GM executives had mocked for being slow to embrace full electric vehicles, was selling every hybrid it could build, while GM's expensive electric trucks sat unsold on dealer lots. The market was screaming that it wanted affordable, practical hybrid trucks, not $70,000 electric pickups with limited range and nowhere to charge them outside major cities. Now that you've seen which trucks destroyed entire companies, you need to know which ones are destroying owners right now through catastrophic transmission failures. I just broke down the 10 used trucks with the worst transmissions according to Consumer Reports. Click the video on your screen.